So, dear and respected friends, thank you so much for your kind participation. And we are going to start today's session with an invocation of a song, this Sufi song. So, let me just say. Thank you, dear and respected friend. Thank you so much for your kind attention. I, Randhir Kumar Gautam, on behalf of Vishwanidhan Center for Asian Blossoming, I welcome you to all to attend the very important session of book launch of Hela ji. The title of her book is Poetry and Redemption and Spiritual Mission. It's a great pleasure and indeed an honor to have available with us distinguished speaker, respected friends, and all viewers and participants. I welcome Dr. JERNAIL Singh ANAND, Chairperson, AAZAAD Foundation, India. I welcome Dr. MAQSOOD JAFRI, author, poet, and humanist from New York. I welcome all the respected speakers, Ms. Hela Tekali, eminent poet and the author of Poetry and Redemption and Spiritual Mission. I welcome Dr. Muhammad Haj Muhammad, Associate Professor, KEELE University, England, Professor ANAND GIRI, Professor Gyan Gulai, Minti Pradhanji, Miss Suganthi Dos, Poet India, Miss Somaya Ben Omar, Poetess, Arabic and English, Miss HUDA, and all our respected friends and participants. Let me give a brief introduction to our Vishwanidhan Public Intellectual Trust. Vishwanidhan Public Intellectual Trust is an intellectual trust based in India, and we have dear and respected friend, please mute yourself so that we can avoid disruption. Yes, thank you. Vishwanidhan Public Intellectual Trust is a registered public intellectual trust in India, and our objectives are like we build Asian theory, we carry workshops, seminar, faculty development program, conferences on cultural, cross-cultural, philosophical and social issues. And we also provide fellowship and a scholarship to students and scholars to study and research. So thank you so much for today's session, all of our friends who participated. And first, I would like to invite Dr. MAQSOOD JAFRI. So before inviting him, let me introduce him. Dr. JAFRI was a professor in English. He resides in New York. He is an author of more than 32 books of poetry and philosophy. He writes in English, Persian, and Urdu, as well as in Hindi. He is a poet, a scholar, and political activist. He is the former advisor to Prime Minister of Pakistan, great Banjir Bhutto. He is the president of some of the international recognized literary and philosophical organizations. So first, I would like to invite Dr. MAQSOOD JAFRI to share his view on the very book. So, Dr. JAFRI, you are cordially invited. Sir, please unmute yourself.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ravindra. I am very much thankful to the organization who had provided me this opportunity to say a few words about very learned lady who is a poetess, philosopher, mystic, and whatnot. Actually, the poetry of redemption and spiritual mission, the title of the book itself is quite manifest and depicts the real mission and message of the writer. I would like to say that it was my great honor that I had written a few lines as a preface of the book, and I am thankful to Miss Hela Tekali that she kindly made this book to me on my New York America address. It is very nice of her. Actually, what she herself says, I would like to start. She writes that in the poetry of redemption, I strove to show that the poet is a spiritual messenger. Number one, that poet is a spiritual messenger. So the word apostle or messenger or prophet is used with the divine personalities, but in poetry and literature, we also say that the man who gives some message, he is a messenger. If you read the poetry of great poets like Milton, whose Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained, and the sonnets of Shakespeare and the plays of Shakespeare, and the great poets of America, Walt Whitman, Robert Frost, great poets of Persian like Hafiz Shirazi and Maulana Rumi, and our great poet of the subcontinents like Ghalib and Iqbal. They all were poets, but they gave a message. So far as my study of different languages, because I myself have written poetry in 7 languages, so I can say that 95% poets in the world, they write poetry for the sake of poetry. The playing the words and phrases and beautifying the language, but they don't have message. For message, you need deep study of world, religions, literature, history, philosophy. And when we say that somebody is a philosopher poet, a poet philosopher, it means that that personality is a savant, is an erudite, is a scholar. So when I have read her book, I found that there's a message, and the message is of the humanity and spiritualism. As she says, poetry of redemption, redemption in the sense, the worldly redemption and the redemption hereafter. The word, the phrase, redemption is twofold. That we should redeem the public, the people, from the clutches of terrorism, extremism, fascism. When we make this world a safe world, it means that we are providing safety, security, prosperity to the world. So this world redemption, and when people become spiritual, that they are virtuous, they are the people of piety, nobility, virtuosity. They are the persons who are like the models of great prophets. So these are people who redeem, who give us redemption. So then she writes, spiritual messenger who show that undoubtedly carries redemptive discourse and a didactic message to enlighten humanity. Now this is the second thing, because I have just picked up 2 or 3 lines from what she has written, that what the purpose of writing this book. On one hand, she says that we want spiritual redeemers. Then she said to enlighten humanity. If you see, the word history is replete with the bloodshed of the people who are biased, prejudiced, you can say the racist, religious extremists. So in the name of religion and racism, the human blood has been shed brutally, bestially. So this is the age of reason. As Bertrand Russell, one of the great philosophers of Britain, I have quoted him in so many my articles and books, that this is the age of reason. If you believe in religion, so you should present its rituals, rites, customs, principles, rationally, reasonably. Because now, according to Bertrand Russell, this is the age of reason. This is the age of rationality. So being a spiritualist, when she talks to enlighten humanity, it means that she wants to shed all the prides and prejudices which have marred, degraded and disgraced humanity. The humanity has been divided into so many fractions. What are the cause of these frictions in the fractions? They are prejudices, language prejudices. Do you say that? Linguistic prejudices, national prejudices, racial prejudices, religious prejudices. So her great service in this book is that she has given a clarion call for the enlightenment of humanity. And I think that in this modern era, the writers, the poets, the philosophers who do not enlighten the world, and do not take them out from the dark and dreary dungeons of ignorance and illiteracy, they are not serving any purpose to humanity. Then further she says, enlightened humanity being conscious of divine and existential questions. This is primordial purpose. Now, what is divine and existential? Well, I had written a detailed article on existentialism. When she said divine and existentialism, these two words are very important. She believes that we must protect, we must respect divine values. All the religions, the major religions of the world, they talk of divinity. Nowadays, we find materialism, agnosticism, skepticism, atheism, Marxism, the people who have denied the divine values. What are the divine values? They are not only customs or spiritless rites and customs, the rituals. Divine values are to establish the state of divinity, as in the Holy Bible. Jesus Christ says that he has come to establish the kingdom of God on earth. What is the kingdom of God on earth? In America, while talking to some friends in churches, I also was most invited in churches as well, to express my views on the Holy Bible. So I say that Jesus Christ came to maintain justice. He revolted against synagogue in the sense that he said the rabbis are exploiting people in the name of religion. Then he also criticized the government officials who receive bribes. They are bribe takers. The only two things that Jesus Christ said, that he wanted spiritual divine principles to be established, and he wanted that these people, financially the rulers, they are exploiting people and amassing ill-gotten money. So this is the message of Moses. This is the message of Krishna. This is the message of Muhammad. This is the message of Guru Nanak Sahib. So we have to adhere and stick to basic divine values, which are the fundamentals for all humanity. But the problem is this, that we are fighting in the name of religion, races, religions, religious discrimination, religious extremism. Not only one religion. In one religion, you have subsects, one sect, then subsects. And then internationally, they are against each other. So the great mission of Hela Tekali is that she is working for divine values, spiritual values based on humanity, based on love, based on fraternity. And when she talks about existentialism, now existentialism of French philosopher Henry and the Jean-Paul Sartre, this is atheistic existentialism. Now, when we talk of theistic spiritual existentialism, by it we mean that we accept our entities, our existence, that we are the creature of God. God is the creator. We are the creature, and the whole creation. She has talked about this cosmos that philosophically we can say ontological proof of the existence of God. That when we see the universe, we say this is the creation, and when there is some creation, there is a creator. So her book, her poetry is also fighting against irreligious mindset and atheistic values, which are materialistic. So we can say that ultimately she's promoting and projecting humanism, spiritualism. One thing is very important. Please permit me just 1 or 2 minutes. That's very important to say that in the name of spiritualism, the world has been deluded, taught, so-called pseudo saints and the custodians of religion and spirit, and say that we are the people who can take you to God. And no, not at all. Such people who are self-styled custodians of religions and spiritualism, they have played havoc with humanity, with spirituality, with civilization. We want what she is propounding. She is propounding spiritualism based on humanity, respect of humanity. If we are the vicegerent of God, it means that every human being is vicegerent of God, a self-styled custodians of spiritualism in the name of Sufism or mysticism. Now the rational world, the intellectuals, the enlightened people in the world, they are not going to believe in the so-called mystical saints. They want scientific research, development, advancement, rationality. Now what do we can do? We say that we do not believe in negative traditional Sufism or mysticism that led us to asceticism, monasticism, lethargy, inaction, irrationality. The positive spiritualism is that we unite the whole world. We are all humans. We have the same souls. We must love humanity, and we must set aside the materialistic bent of mind, and we must love humanity. And in that comes justice, love, fraternity. So traditional Sufism or mysticism in this modern world has no place at all, because these pseudo people have been exploiting the world in the name of religion. So I mostly say that we have to introduce humanity, spirituality, virtuosity, justice, human norm, human rights. This is the age of human rights. And the spiritual cannot ignore the impact and importance of justice, human rights. So I appeal to all people who believe in divinity and religion or spiritualism. They must unite humanity. If they are dividing humanity, they are dissecting it into pieces. This is not spiritualism or any traditional Sufism, self-styled custodians of God and religion. They have no place in the modern enlightened age. So I appreciate the book, the poetry of Hela Tekali, when she talks of Sufism, Narcissism, humanity, spirituality. She's enlightening the world and uniting the humankind. And this is a great task, and I appreciate her poetry. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Jafri. As always, very deep in the presentation.
Thank you so much, Dr. MAQSOOD. Thank you so much.
Thank you
It
very
was
much.
brilliant speech.
Thank you very much.
Beautifully
Very
articulated.
eloquent one. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Most welcome.
And then you beautifully articulated the context of the idea which is embedded in poetry and redemption and a spiritual mission. Hela Tekali book.
Thank you. Thank you.
May I invite Dr. JERNAIL Singh Anand, although Dr. JERNAIL Singh Anand does not need any introduction. He has written 140 books. He is our mentor, great poet, scholar, philosopher, and I think we can say a lot of things for him. But I can recall Dr. Maja's thought on his personality. She said that Dr. Jarnail Singh Anand is one of the greatest philosophers among the poets and one of the greatest poets among the philosophers. And he is the only author in the world history to have written 9 epics and recently Lustus, the Prince of Darkness, mega epic, has got a very tremendous response from all over the world. So may I invite Dr. Jarnail Singh Anand to share his thoughts on the very book.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
you are
sir,
audible.
yes.
First of all, thank you very much for this invite, which is a privilege in itself. And listening to Dr. Jafri was very illuminating. And before I say anything about the book, The Poetry of Redemption, I would like to congratulate our friend Hela Tekali from Tunisia. She is a great poet and she has, I think, a big name so far as mystical and metaphysical poetry is concerned, I mean, at world level. So I have also had an opportunity to write something about her book. So for me, she is a poet of serious obsession with the mystical. I have never heard Hela Tekali talking simply like simple human beings. She is always under some sort of, some passion when she is talking. The metaphysical and the spiritual blend in her visions with great efficacy. And she is always grappling with language to convey her deeply felt visions of existence. I see her making experiments with words, their meanings, say language. Poetry is neither a passion nor a profession with Hela Tekali. Rather, it is an object of obsession. And from this obsession with poetry springs the poetic creation of the highest order. Tunisia has produced so many mystical poets, but Hela Tekali has a special place, owing specifically to her deep intrusions into the unknown. Intrusions into the unknown recesses of human experience. Her expressions, as we find with Donne, are often found to shock the nerves of the readers. Yes, her poetry exercises on our nerves, our blood, and sends our visions of being in our consciousness. In the book, The Poetry of Redemption, you will not find even one poem which can be called commonplace. She has no interest in the mundane. It appears she is always in a meta conference with the supramental reality. And rarely she comes out of it to attend to her worldly course and returns to that divine estate which characterizes her world letter for letter and word for word. This book begins with a poem dedicated to her departed father. In the opening verse, Vanity, she spells out how the life of a human being should work out. I actually love her poetry, and in this book, she has really written great poetry. Man should always be that piece of art Man should always be that piece of art, selfless, pure, noble, with a crystal clear heart. Now, this is a very great agenda and a very great, ideal to be followed, particularly in this world. And it goes to create a Superman on this earth with passion for good life. As I have said earlier, she is given to trance-like experiences, and she knows science has its limitations, while the life of the spirit extends beyond all logical calculations. She says, all the science of the earth cannot dare, all the science of the earth cannot dare to see with its logic what I saw with my eyes. My heart was caught into trance, my soul flies. So this is a state which I think can be better described as Sufist, always in a trance when the soul is flying. The last poet describes human predicament and the postmodern proclivities marked by a sense of loss and despair. She says, the dream has lost its desire to carry on, where the poet sees no glimmer of a new dawn. The Jungle of Peace, another poem, takes her towards revelation, and this voyage is no less than a nightmare. Revelation means facing the truth, and we all know truth is very dangerous, nightmarish also. She is possessed by an invisible thirst for her love, and the jungle symbolizes the wilderness that this life is. She says, a nightmare usurped my peace. It was quite alarming. Here we encounter absolute felicity of expression and thought. The intimate tone of her poetry makes it very endearing. Now, these are the lines I think which everybody should love, can love. Misunderstood is the best word I use to describe myself. Salute to you, Hela. I never found such a simple line said so simply, yet conveying such a complex thought. Misunderstood is the best word I use to describe myself. When emotions are too powerful to be put into an ordinary shelf, my thoughts are naked and divine. But the world laughs at this holiness of mine. She complains. Looking at the other side of me, another poem, is a fantastic exploration of the other self of man. And Hela Tekali is a magician so far as words, expressions, and feelings are concerned. She surprises. Poetry often surprises, so does Hela. The other is where thoughts become nude. The other is where thoughts become nude when the eye meets with the dark interlude. Her complaint with life and people is very commonplace. No one likes her aura. No one is interested in her light, and they want her to be stripped of this light and walk with the dark shadows. Everybody wants that she should also be like everybody. Why a poet should carry light on his head, in his eyes? It is a painful experience when people doubt the poet's spiritual blessings and try to foul with her faith in the divine. She writes very beautifully, I am the aura whose light is forbidden. I am the aura whose light is forbidden, spending my life between the dead and the living. Spending my life between the dead and the living. Wherever I go, they try to extinguish my light. People are after the poet, we know it. Wherever I go, they try to extinguish my light. They always wish to see me walking through the dark night. So people who grope in the dark, they want the poet also. Dr. Jafri was talking about poet as a prophet. So you know that's a prophets are not very much loved by the people. People are afraid of these people. She has another poem, I was born to life and die. I was born to life and die is a poem which focuses on man's self-discovery. When the poet finds herself standing nude before the mirror and trying to know how much the mirror is capable of showing and how much it does conceal. This happens with all of us. When we look at the mirror, it shows the surface, only. It cannot dive into what we are thinking. So the picture is half only to learn that nothing is without error. It is like looking at yourself in your own mirror, visualizing what you hide inside your inner reflection. You can never hide, but you cannot hide yourself from the mirror. Is it pantheism or a higher state of mystical realization? When the poet realizes that life is no longer an outside journey from nothingness, from death to nothingness, to death. The real journey begins with a frightening passion to enter one's soul, penetrate the layers of existence, and reach the home of the soul, where one is face to face with the ultimate knowledge that he is guided not by any terrestrial wisdom, but by an extraterrestrial insight into the reality of existence. So she feels that man is most safe inside himself. I find Hela Tekali at the doorsteps of a great revelation, in the realization of which the physical existence finally helps her to die. This is how we are capable of understanding the unknown language of angels. Only poets, prophets, and visionaries can attempt. It is a big mystery how the angels talk to us, what they want from us. We don't know. We cannot understand what they really want. That is why there is so much of problem in the world. They want something else, we do something else. There is dichotomy, there is confusion. So I congratulate Hela Tekali on the publication of verses, the poetry of redemption, which ruffles and at the same time soothes, not only ruffles, but soothes the feathers of human intelligence, and is a huge leap towards. This is the most important word which I have to say, Hela Tekali. It is a huge leap towards self-destination.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ali.
Else,
This
is a
very
journey.
nice
All
analysis.
best. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. JERNAIL. As always, very inspiring. And how beautifully you explain Hela Tekali's mystic approach of poetry and thrust of poetry. Beautifully, you mentioned all the important approach and particularly engagement. How he uh, majestically, writes poetry with very important and very deep philosophy and very simple and at the same time magical. Thank you so much, Dr. Anand.
All right, welcome.
So now I would like to invite Dr. Mohamad. He's an associate professor from Keele University, England, and he worked a very important poet called Ezra Pound, US-born poet in early modernism. And he taught American and English poetry in other literary subjects at Syrian and Jordan University. And in addition to his academic duties, Dr. Haj Mohammed supervised cultural events, he directed plays, organized poetry symposia, and other faculty activities. So may I invite Dr. Haj Mohammed to share his thought on the very book. Yes, please unmute yourself.
Is it okay now?
Yes, yes, it's okay.
Okay. First of all, good afternoon. And I would like to say thank you to Dr. JAFRI and Dr. Anand. Hats off to every word they said. Very nice and enjoyable. And thank you to Hela Tekali for her book, Poetry of Redemption. I would like just to dwell on the word redemption for a while, because when we speak of redemption, do we mean to redeem the body or the soul? If we say we need to redeem our souls or our spirits, and say our spirits because our souls, you see, is another stage, then why don't we go for a full definition of our spirits? Is it to say that the spirit is the immaterial reality that we are looking for? And when we look for the immaterial reality, then where does it stay when we need it? When we feel deviated from the right, and we look for the and we look for it in order to go back to the right path, as religions dictate us. I would like to say first that the body, our body, is the best container of our souls, our spirits. The best container. From this point, I would like to say that all civilizations have approached this question of spiritual reality through spiritual poetry. I mean, if we go back in history, even to the Middle East, we know that the Babylonians have substantially concentrated the idea of the spirit. We have Ashtar, who is the goddess of what? Of fertility, you see. Not only fertility of the land, but fertility of the soul, because fertility of the land is the fertility of the soul. So I'd like to say that our body is the best container, the best place where the soul can stay for that duration of life. And then it goes where this is the question, okay? So all civilization, I could say that, have addressed the idea of the spiritual poetry and spiritual entity. All of them, except, in my understanding, the digital one, because the digital one has crossed the line of no return. Okay, the digital one has made us, has made man, you see, subsidiary to its own incessant drive to where, this is the question I don't want to answer, and I can't answer it, you see. And since the spirit is a perplexing form of reality, then can man get to understand it? I mean reality, because some believe that the soul survives there, as is the case in the physical body, as the case in the region of Sikhism. In Sikhism, they believe that the soul survives the death of the physical body. And I believe this is the case in Hindus. And possibly, and not possibly, you see, even in Islam, because in Islam, you say, well, look, life, the real life is the hereafter one, life without the body. Okay, I go back to Hela Tekali's poetry, where she says that she can fed by love. And love is the reality of the soul, because no soul, no love without no love without soul, no love without spirit. Okay, and I can here go back in history to someone called Rabia al-Adawiya. Rabia al-Adawiya came from the Middle East. Okay, she was engaged in all mean events, mean activities. But when she felt the love of God descending on her, she felt, well, look, this is enough for me. I love God, and it's enough for me to sustain me for the rest of my physical life and my hereafter life. Okay. Now we need to see once more, sorry for my concentration on the idea of the soul. I mean, is it something substantial, we feel it or not? When we feel our bodies, we need to feel our souls, but we can't feel except when we feel through somebody else. And that somebody else could be nature, could be man, could be an idea, could be anything else. And we feel it by love. We feel it by passion, we feel it by compassion. When we address someone in distress, we feel that there's something we call love. Our spirit here is going to redeem us from any evil part we might have done. Okay? And I can see now that spirituality, consciousness of the unconsciousness is open to anyone who wants to leap into its power. That's why I believe that man's choice of spiritual poetry is beyond man's consciousness. Yes, this is my understanding. Spiritual poetry, as Hela Tekali and others, you see, and I can remember here William Blake, you see, in Tiger of the Night. Okay. I can remember Ezra Pound. I can remember even D.S. Eliot, you see. Possibly some may say, well, look, it has nothing to do with spiritual poetry. I say yes, but when he speaks about those spirits in distress, this is an invitation for us to see what is the opposite. The opposite is to redeem them, okay? Poetry redemption and spiritual poetry doesn't come by an invitation. We invite it. No, it is part of our soul search for the reality we need to know. When we know that this is reality, is us, then we need to know who are we. Okay, now I'd like to go to the idea of what we call definition of the soul, of the spirit, sorry, in Islam. In Islam, we call it nafs, which means what? My breath, which is inhaling and making me feel that I live. In Hebrew, it is nefesh, okay, which means what? It's the same idea, nefesh and nefesh, okay? In Hindu, spirit is a reality. Okay, if we say that spirit is a reality, then in short, can we grab this reality? Yes, we can grab it. We can feel it by love. And this poetry, which we call spiritual poetry, focuses on feelings that are supposed to cleanse the soul from stains sustained by daily life, by the rush after materialism. Okay, and it is a process defined as redeeming the soul in purpose of attaining the final truth. When I say the final truth, I don't mean to see something that I don't know, but I can hear about it. Because the final truth is when we see beyond our physical ability to see, when we see by our souls and our minds, our imaginations. Okay, Hela Tekali here says what? And before Hela Tekali, I would like to just introduce you to a poet called David Norman. She planted a spiritual seed. She knew the truth. When we plant that spiritual seed, we know the truth. For God's sake, when we know the truth, can we say, as Dr. JAFRI said, feel one human being, one humanity? Can we feel that? Well, look, if anybody can sow that seeds of reality of the spirits, then can we harvest reality? Yes, we can. Exactly. By what? By feeling that, well, look, we need to feel that we can redeem ourselves, we can regenerate ourselves, we can reincarnate ourselves, we can recreate ourselves from something we call what? A past that we do want. Hela Tekali he says, my soul longs to be redeemed in a universe where with love my soul craves to be fed. Again, Norman and Hela Tekali have almost similar ideas that this soul can be fed by what? By love, and love is light. And when I speak about light, I speak about the light of lights. The light of lights in Quran, it is God, and our understanding of God. Okay, we need to understand God by our spirit and our souls. by elevating it to that status where we can feel that, well, look, God is within us. This is what Avicenna says in his famous book about the soul. She came to you from the highest. Okay, she came to you from the highest to dwell in your body, and then it goes back. And this is what God, what the Quran says: when the soul leaves, it goes back to its creator. Again, Hela Tekali says, "A lost poet I am, in the wilderness I call love." Hela, I like this line of poetry, in the wilderness, and it reminds me of the wilderness where Jesus Christ was spent 40 days, where he had the devil before his eyes, or tempted by the devil. Okay, love can beat everything, and how to activate love is by the Spirit. The Spirit, and she says again, "I will fall like the rain, and remove darkness from the sky. I am the soul that died and lived all lives." Okay. "Cleanse the mist in my eye, see better." Okay, but you don't need to see with my glasses. I want to see it with my what? With my soul, my spirit. Okay. I mean, if I go back to tiger, burning bright in that what? Sorry, I can't say it remember very well. In the darkness of the night. Again, we are moving from darkness into light. Again, we need that spirit to be defined, fully defined, but I don't think anyone can define spirit, you see, because it is insubstantial. And when we speak of the insubstantial, we need to speak of the substantial. The substantial I touch, but that I cannot, I must feel. Aristotle sees that the soul and spirit as the structure of the body, its function and organization. The soul and the body can make us live. Now, how does poetry see the spirit? Again, it sees it via love. Focuses on the feelings that are supposed to cleanse the soul from stains. Okay. Another idea I'd like to raise, I'd like to focus on. Do we see spiritual poetry as luxury or need? Well, some people say, well, look, you're getting involved in nothing, we don't feel it. Okay. This is what? A luxury that no one needs. No, I say no. Spiritual poetry is more than it's a necessity for every one of us to feel that, well, look, we are not only human bodies that are set to eat and sleep and do physical functions, producing ourselves, producing our generation, etc. No, we need to reproduce our souls, to make them once more, you see, have a vacation from what we call, well, look, staying in hot sun. We go to a moderate weather under the light of truth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mohammed. So very nice interpretation.
My pleasure, Hela. My pleasure, Hela.
Very nice interpretation. Great. Thank you.
And I have many ideas to say, but I don't want to take all the whole forum for myself. No, okay.
It was brilliant the way it is.
So, thank you. And I think Dr. ANAND GIRI is not here. So, may I invite Ms. Suganthi Dos. Ms. Suganthi Dos is a creative poet and she is from Tamil Nadu, state of India. I request
your voice is not clear. I'm sorry to say it. Your voice is not clear too. Yeah.
Yes, Ms. Suganthi Dos, you are cordially invited to share your thought on the very book. Please unmute yourself.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, we can. hear.
Yes, yes, we can
Okay,
hear you.
okay, okay. Okay, respected brother and sisters. I am Sugandhi Das from India, Tamil Nadu. Vanakkam. I'm so glad today to participate in this event because I love my friend. She is my soulmate, my heart reader. Hela Tekali is my favorite spiritual poetess friend. I am being with her 7 years in this poetical journey. To me, she is a guide, spiritual preacher, well-wisher also. The great spiritual mystical poetess she is, so I am so proud to speak about her. The reason her Sufi poems made me as a soul. After reading her poems, I have changed in me. I started to love myself, changed me very positive woman. She is the reason. She is a reason for all my spiritual vision. Her soul thoughts are very sublime. She researches the soul. For it, she used her own soul. So she is burning. Still, she is burning to research the soul. She loves the universe. So her life fully, she dedicated all her life for the universe. Still, she is writing her divine poems. I am reading all her poems from Hollows of Light, The Quest of Love, The Soaring of My Soul, Mystical Light, The Song of the Thirsty Bird, Metaphysics Alchemy, and now reading Poetry of Redemption and Spiritual Mission. Oh, just, I'm wondering how she is writing her mystical thoughts. I think she is writing all her poems in a meditative mind, getting her mystical thoughts from subconscious mind, divine space. I think it's the truth. Today I am so proud. After reading her book, I felt so happy. This book is very spiritual and infinite love. Here, the poet expresses her divine love with her father, a poem that made me cry. She dedicated the poem to her father. When I read it, I felt her father's love with her. Just he is the God to her. He is the heart to her. He is the strength to her. A poem from her book. I want to read it. A Lost Farewell, page number 13. Your love is no longer knocking on my door. Your love is leaving me where I am left alone to find no oxygen to carry on to the place to meet my home. I have never known your worth, for your heart beating gives me myth like the ozone layer in depletion. My lungs are filled with severe pollution. I have never known how to make confession. I'm still lost in my own obsession. I do not want you to leave me alone. How can I carry on without your love and on my own? You took my hand and showed me the way. Now your breath is taken and I have to pay. I can't handle what's happening anymore. For your love is no longer knocking on my door. So thus she is writing her poems extremely and such an every poem she says about the power of love and the very important of self-love. In page number 43, her poems. I close my eyes, the journey within. I close my eyes and journey deep within. This is the safest place I have ever been. Diving with a landscape of emptiness, even though I am drawn into a vast temple of the unknown. I feel this is the most familiar space where I have ever grown. In this empire, I breathe with great relief. For every gasp of air brings me back from grief. I feel closer to the divine light than anyone else. I am the soul inside my body. I am the muse inside my poetry. I am the best version of myself. The more I feel, the better I see myself. Oh, what a poem this is. I love this poem. Thus, in this book, I read her soul. she has written her Sufi poems spiritually and scientifically, mystically. All poems are very divine, having great spiritual truths with scientific passion. The poet love is supreme. She loves the God who saved her from hell of the world. So she expressing her love through her divine poems. Yes, love is alchemy as her words. Love can do miracles. Love is the power. She believes the miracles. She believes love. She believes the silence. She believes the soul. So she writes her soulful poems from subconscious mind by her divine ink. I love her. To me, she is a divine soul, very kind and honest woman, wise and strong woman, but fragile in the heart. Her wisdom, thoughts, and quotes are beyond and beautiful, very unique, good friend, very, very, very soul. I love you so much, dear Hela Tekali. Thank you for this sweet opportunity.
Thank you so much, Sugandhi. You are my soulmate.
Thank
I love you so much.
Thank you,
so
thank you,
much.
love you so much. Thank you
Very
so much.
soothing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Suganthi Dos. Very beautifully expressing her love.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And now, may I invite Ms. Somaya Ben AMOR. She is a poetess from Arabic, Tunisia, and she writes poetry in both Arabic as well as English. So, please, you are cordially invited to share your thoughts. Ms. Somaya.
Hello.
Yes, you are audible, please.
Hello. I admire this symposium. It is the first time I meet friends, colleagues from India, and I'm happy to talk with you today about my friend Hela Tekali, the poetess, the Sufi poetess, and her book Redemption, her book Poetry of Redemption. What can I say?
Poetry of Redemption, spiritual mission.
Yes,
and spiritual mission.
Yes, it's an attractive book. I want to say 2 words about Hela Tekali. I've known her for a short time, but I feel that we had been friends for long years since I touched her soul. I really touch the soul of Hela Tekali. We are in harmony. We have been friends for 2 months, just 2 months, but we feel that we had been friends for long years ago, as I said. She's a poetess. She's been writing for 9 years Sufi poetry. I know her well. Despite the our short friendship, she thinks and she writes and she behaves with the spirituality. She devoted all her time, her mind, her manners, her pen for and her energy. She's a mother. And her energy wondering about the truth, about the justice, about the nobleness of the human soul. She's unfit. I really say it honestly. Hela Tekali is unfit in this world of materialism and this ugly world where we notice the absence of emotions, the absence of ethics, of humanism, of love. That's why she always, in her speech, in her writings, she praises love, emotions, and the divine power, which is God, and which is reflected in us. That she says in me, in her poems. Now about her book, Poetry of Redemption, Hela Tekali, she deepens this her spiritual search in this book for truth inside herself. She makes an internal talk. For me, this book is really a masterpiece. It is really a masterpiece in the world of humanism, of literature, and of faith. Faith in general, all the religions of the globe, because she announces a brightening path of redemption of the human being, which is a monologue inside the human being itself. In her book, especially I focus on her poem "Narcissism: A Curse or a Blessing." This is a philosophical, really, an internal speech, internal dialogue of Hela Tekali about existence, about the human beings, about the universe. However, Hela Tekali feels so lonely in her poem Lost Poet. In her poem The Lost Poet, she feels so lonely, so sad, so gloomy, as she describes the current world where we live now, a world of ignorance, misleading, materialism, loss of dreams. And she insists on the idea of loss of dreams in her poem, A Lost Poet. She says, dream has lost its desire to carry on, where the poet sees no glimmer of a new dawn. Yes, she lost dawn, Hela Tekali, like all people, like all fragile people, like all honest people, gifted, like all gifted people, profound people, she loses the taste of life, and she's right. For me, she is right, and she's reliable. I trust her, since she escapes to the wilderness for redemption and reincarnation. It's really a good refuge to reincarnate, to go to the wilderness, whether psychologically or physically, going to the wilderness, going inside ourselves in total isolation. This is really a refuge for Hela Tekali and for most people like her and like me too. She finds refuge in her pain, in her loneliness, and she's happy and satisfied with such loneliness. Although the common people see that she's exception, she's different. Yet I congratulate her for her uniqueness, for her exception, and I will follow her. She is more ancient than me in the world of writing. She's more experienced in the world of writing spiritual poetry. I write much realistic poetry, more than spiritual poetry, and yet I'm really attracted, fascinated. I'm really pleased by the pen of Hela Tekali. Thank you, my dear Hela. Thank you, my dear friends. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Somaya.
Thank you.
And very, very, I can see.
Thank you so much,
the
Somaya.
expression.
It was very fascinating, very fascinating discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, may I invite writer, author of the book, Hela Tekali ji, and she is a novelist, literary critic, and also a translator. although she teaches as an English senior teacher at Faculty of Law and Political Science. So may I invite Ms. Tekali to share her thoughts on her book, Poetry and Redemption and Spiritual Vision.
Hi, Ranveer. Hi, everyone. Are you listening to me?
Yes,
Are
yes,
you listening?
yes, but
So
we
thank you
cannot
so
see
much,
you.
Dr. MAQSOOD, JAFRI. It was a brilliant. Can you listen to me? Do you listen?
Yes.
Are you listening?
Yes,
Yes?
yes, we can listen you, but we cannot see you.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Now it is visible.
Even if you don't see me, you listen to me. This is the most important thing. Thank you so much, Dr. MAQSOOD JAFRI. It was very brilliant introduction and speaking about humanism, about spiritualism, about justice, about these are all, I see them as poetry of redemption. Justice, humanism, love, faith, creating a new era, that believes in equilibrium, balance between materialistic matters and spiritual matters. Because we are living in an era, 21st century, is an era which is devoid of emotion, of love, of honesty, of true friendship. Like, for example, Lewis, I don't remember the name, but it was Four Loves, his book Four Loves, an American writer, I forget his name, exactly his name, but his name is Lewis. For Loves, when he spoke about friendship, which becomes something which is made of conspiracy. We no longer think about friendship like, for example, the Prophet Muhammad and Abu Bakr Siddiq from Sahaba. That is a true friendship where there is honesty, where everything is built on complementary alliance, on trust, on faith, on justice, etc. Nowadays, we give more focus on materialistic think than on spiritual think, and we need, it's a must, we need spirituality, because spirituality, it completes man. Spirituality is there. Man cannot be made only of the body. As Dr. Muhammad Haj Muhammad, he said, the body is a vehicle for the soul. So because we are living on our earth, so we need the body in order it is to redeem the soul. And as I said, also I have a quote where I said, the body is a necessary instrument for the spirit or for the soul, and it is made of the body is an instrument for the soul. It is made of confronting thoughts or delightful sounds. We need both the body and the soul, it's true. But nowadays in 21st century, we need more the spirit of the divine, because this is our true blessing. Without the divine, we don't exist. We exist as a human being, but what's the difference between a human being, a man and an animal? We think, we feel, we have this cognitive thoughts. We are made of cognitive thoughts, and with the mind, we are different from the animal. And we have to go back to the spiritual matters, because if we live like that in the material world, we are lost. And this is why I said, if love is an escape into the wilderness, I think that we are lost, we are away from redemption. If love is an escape into the wilderness, poetry is a journey back home, back to spiritual mission, back to this poetry of redemption. And don't mind me, Ramvi, because I'm better at writing than at speaking. And there's a very nice quote, which is one of my best. I always remember this quote, which is, we are slaves of silence and masters of our speech. Our eloquent words is the most precious word we preach. And this is my poetry. I want my poetry to be the most eloquent and precious thing I preach, because I'm a poet, And when people read my writing, read my thoughts, read my honesty, read my unconditional love, read my positive Sufism, as Dr. MAQSOOD brilliantly said, that I am an adherent and I am a pioneer of positive Sufism and modern mysticism. And this is how I want, after my death, people to see me, not traditional Sufism, not traditional. I'm not someone, how can I say it? I'm not someone who is, that is violent or just trying, that is to promote Sufism, which is extreme. That is, how can I say it? Extremism. I don't want extremism in religion. I respect all religion, Christianity, Judaism, Islam. I respect of all religion, and as also Rumi said, very good. That is a quote from Rumi when he said, "Love is my religion. Every heart is my temple, and every heart is my temple." And this is how that is this expanded relationship between me and Sugandhi Das from India. She's Hindu. I am a Muslim, but we love each other because there's exchange of feeling and of emotions that that completes us. I found myself in Sugandhi, and Sugandhi found herself in me. Are you listening, sir? Randhir?
Yes, please.
Yes. So let me give a brief introduction to my book, Poetry of Redemption and Spiritual Mission. This is a philosophical endeavor to dive into the fathom of mystery and see it all. As I conveyed it in most of my poetry books, I am a seeker of truth. I believe that no man can even reach the ultimate truth, the real self, or what we call the over self, without taking the risk of diving into the ocean of his own nature itself. This truth itself is not separate from man. For Sufism as a philosophical approach necessitates this overwhelming communion with the divine. The poet then is a prophet or spiritual messenger in the metaphorical sense, who is capable of enlightening and inspiring others through his innumerable rights to reveal to the reader that the quintessence of the spirit is not separable from the quintessence of the soul. The more we delineate from society and we opt for seclusion, the deeper is our mindset and the more influential we will be. Ultimately, there is no spiritual mission, no undeniable redemption without trusting the self, which is our best soulmate and where the divine within us resides. This is an introduction that I sent previously to Dr. MAQSOOD JAFRI, and this summarizes the context of my poetry book. Man carries a creative energy during his lifetime on earth, and he may not be aware of this divine magic inside himself. So, for example, alchemy, which is the previous book before Poetry of Redemption, alchemy, and that is another name for love, is an enlightening book to ignite the natural beauty within man. He should take hold of this subliminal, supernatural gift and try to make the most of it. One of my quotes goes on saying, "The poet is made of natural beauty, transmuted into the form of creative energy. Once he captures this divine magic and casts a spell on his sublime poetry, he becomes aware of both his ethereal self and his mind-boggling divinity." I think that the poet is one of the best artists who can fathom the psychology of the self, because he becomes conscious of the unconscious, and he is among the rarest who can venture into the depth of the mystery, which is a real treasure for the human psyche and crucial for understanding the undiscovered self of man. And this is why I wrote, "Through the eyes of the poet, you see nature. He is God's most sublime creature." Randhir, I would like to take some time to answer some of the questions asked by Sugandhi Das, as she read the book Poetry of Redemption and Spiritual Mission. She asked me a few questions, please, 6 questions. I would like to answer briefly all of these questions. What inspired you to write spiritual poetry? I honestly had a very painful experience in the past. And this is how I turned spiritual to heal my past aches. And I said in one of my quotes, poetry is the best therapy to my soul. It is there to heal my past aches or remorseful aches. What do you think about mysticism? Mysticism, I read about Evelyn Underhill, her book, Practical Mysticism, which is one of the nicest books I have ever read. And T.S. Eliot, he was also inspired by Evelyn Underhill, who is an American spiritualist and philosophical writer also. And I wrote that mysticism is the art of perfecting a dream. Mysticism is the art of perfecting a dream where reality hopelessly is confounded with illusion. So mysticism is living more in a dream world than in real world. And this is very painful about being mystical. We have to live and how can I say it? We have to bear this illusion, because mysticism, after all, is an illusion. But we want to perfect it. We want to make it a reality. This is why I said that mysticism is an art of perfecting a dream where illusion is confounded with reality. Mysticism is the art of perfecting a dream where illusion is confounded with reality. Mysticism is a spiritual experience that cannot be contained or confined. It is the science of the soul. It is more logical than logic and reason itself. A language that cannot be understood by a common woman, but by a lover who sees into the religion of love, who is constantly connected to the silence of God, and who is able to see into the silent sight, the vision of love that is brought to the eyes of the lover through concealed light. Mysticism is necessary, of course, in a world ruined by materialism and lust, like the masterpiece of Dr. Anand, Lustus, where he shows that man, he becomes lustful for power, for supremacy, for competition, for everything, for contempt, and he doesn't think about unconditional love, etc. And this is how we are living. We are living in a lustful world. Only by turning back to spiritual province, spiritual mission, can man raise the question of connected with matters of existence of paramount importance. I don't really think that poetry of redemption is different from any other books, as I respond to Suganthi, since the spiritual matter is always raised in most of my books. It is true that in my book, Alchemy, Another Name for Love, I wanted to stress that both science and spirituality are complementary subjects and not different or separate from each other, since mysticism is a mystery that inspires both the scientists, the alchemists, and the poets, as well as the poet. So the poet here, I use it with a metaphor as an alchemist who turns raw materials into gold. This is how I showed the poet as an alchemist. But in Poetry of Redemption, I strove to show that the poet is a spiritual messenger who undoubtedly carries a redemptive discourse and a didactic message to enlighten humanity by being conscious of the divine existence and raising questions which are of existence, which are primordial questions. Religion is something that should unite people and not divide them. We should respect all rituals and beliefs independently of our belonging, whether it is Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, or any other religion, Sikhism, for example, or set of beliefs. I strongly adhere to Rumi saying, Maulana Rumi, Jalaluddin Rumi, my religion is love, every heart is my temple. And Rabindranath Tagore also, when he said, the ultimate truth of man is not in the intellect or in his possession, it is in the illumination of his mind. The message I would like to convey to humanity is that we don't live blindly. In the words, there are signs sent from God to us. Love starts with a single sign, and ends up melting into the divine. I expressed this in my poem, which is very beautiful poem. If you want me to read it, let me run there. It's when science meets science. I said that science and science are homophones steering the soul with their overtones. If you can allow me to read the poem Science, When Science Meets Science. We are not alone in Earth. There is a force inside us that guides our footsteps. That's why living unconsciously, without awakening this invisible voice is not fair. We have to wake up to our creative energy and the love within us. And I wrote, and all the love that I am inside has not been discovered yet. There are two left questions. Both are equally important, loving yourself and loving others. This is why I wrote about narcissism and Sufism. Loving yourself gives you strength and self-confidence to ignore those who break you down and weaken your potential to carry on and try to impoverish your karma. Loving others is again important when you do something good without expecting anything in return of your good deeds. And I wrote, if you have to be narcissist, it is a blessing if you are misunderstood and being surrounded by people who break you down. And at the same time, you have to be Sufi when you do something for humanity and asking for nothing in return. The last question, the difference between science and spirituality. While science believes in logic, systematic rules, and observing the external world, spirituality believes in the existence of the soul within man, a province that is capable of experiencing divine manifestation that can only be triggered when man becomes aware of his supernatural powers and the divine realm inside him, the overwhelming communion, in short, love, experiencing love in its sublime form. These are the answers to Suganthi questions. Randhir, are you still there?
Yes,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So please let me just read this poem. When science meets science, and I will end with this. When science meets science. I think it's which page, Suganthi? When science meets science.
Thank you.
Page, which page? This poem. When
So beautiful answers.
Yes, it's page 70. Page 70. I will read this poem. Can you?
What do you mean?
I will read this poem, the poem. When science meets science. This is about spirituality and science, because you asked me what is the connection between science and science, Suganthi. So you know that science, S-I-G-N-S, because these are homophones. It's also linked to scientific speculation. But the scientist is always negligent and doesn't look at the science sent from God, which have to do with letters, with numerology, with numbers, etc. The soul is all about the secret of science, to fathom into the word of science. The word science and science are homophones, steering the soul with their overtones. We can see into science through the soul, or the laws of physics are unified into a whole, to see into the spirit of the one and the Almighty, what others understand as the laws of relativity. This is referring to Einstein himself. Science are there to show you where to tread, what laws of physics cannot into the soul reads. Let the soul guide science to the truth. When what paradoxical, James Clerk Maxwell, this is a poem by James Clerk Maxwell investigating about the power of the soul into understanding the existence and the universal existence. What paradoxical art cannot with its amphitheoretical not soothe. Science and the soul have in common the silence, this unspoken words that dive into the mystery of existence. When the concrete and the abstract finally meet, they could read into the science of the universe and its heartbeat. The word is always read as a sum total of science. Its symbol is surely linked to matters of science. When we turn upside down the laws and look within at the soul, we can fathom into the secret of science and know it all. Thank you for allowing me to talk about my journey into the spiritual and redemptive discourse, Randhir. Thank you so much, because I think that this question of spiritual mission is primordial nowadays. And sorry for Mrs. HUDA BOUKASSOULA. We all wish her prompt recovery, because she's quite ill and she couldn't attend with us the conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hela. Very excellent deliberation, I would say, and very deep presentation. And the poem that you recite, it's very deep. So
Thank you so much.
I think we are also joined by two of our participants. Miniti Pradhan is a poet from Odisha. So Miniti ji, would you like to share some of your thoughts?
Hello, am I audible?
Please.
Yes.
Yeah. Hello. Good evening, everyone. Congratulations, Madam Hela Tekali, for the very
Thank you so
release of
much.
this.
I'm
So
pleased to
this,
meet you.
so and I have not read the book, as I have not received, but what I have heard, what I have been hearing from the evening was like from all the speakers, I strongly believe your poetry book, or every poetry in that matter, is a work of art. And in my belief, every art carries the energy. You know, art and energy, it is very, complement each other. Like a strong flow of energy can be vividly sensed in all great works of art. In that matter, for poetry too. They also carry almost tangible aura of vitality. You know, it's energy that makes possible vital expression in the arts. So energy is the starting point of the greatness, and to the ladder by which every successive stage of greatness can be achieved. In my this is what I can say for your poetry book. And in future, I am looking forward to read more of your work. I have never read anything. Sorry for that. So cannot hear you, ma'am. Cannot hear you. Cannot hear you.
Yes, please unmute yourself, Hela. Yes, Miss Hela, please unmute yourself.
Yes. I told her she can send me a friendship request on Facebook, and I can share some of the poems, and we can discuss together her thoughts and what she thinks about my poems.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So, brother, can I recite one poem of poetry of mine, because I have not read her? So, can I?
Okay.
Yes,
so,
yes, you are free. Yes, of course.
Yeah, yeah. It is about gratitude. So just gratitude. If I would always be sad and cry, mourning about the setting sun, swelling tears will blur my vision. Dreams invisible to my eye to look at the beautiful sky. Live life, make it truly awesome. The circle has its momentum, as nothing here is permanent, and the rat race is so unfortunate. Life is to dance along and hum. Value each bit of little thing and love each bit of little thing. The blessings of food, care, and love. Butterflies, flowers, and the flying dove. Kindle spark in every being, a song of gratitude to sing. Let souls blossom be eternal. Everything is a miracle. Thank ever charming gardener for the conscious hidden treasure. So forever remain thankful. Every moment's breath is a grace. Morning awakes you for a reason, to find the path for a passion. Many difficulties to face, the experiences to embrace, challenges it always does throw. It allows your wisdom and more knowledge to grow. Teaches you the valuable lesson, rise up in appreciation, gratitude matters to more. And thank you for listening.
thank you. So, may I invite Professor Gyan
poem.
Gului to say it? in 2 to 3 minutes. Please share your thoughts.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm audible. I'm audible.
Yes, yes, you are audible.
Thank you. Thank you. It was really very interesting, all the contributions and, of course, the themes of the book. Well, I have some, so to speak, I thought to some connections because, well, of course, the idea of the poetry as a redemption and the spiritual mission as close, very, very close connections, really nearly a kind of a sort of identity with one of our, as Italian were, one of the greatest poets, that is Dante Alighieri, because also in Dante Alighieri, poetry is from, so to speak, from the very beginning of his poems production to the end of his life, really a question of redemption, of a message of redemption for humanity, and also as regards the goal of in the autobiography, of course, the goal of the objective of the poetry is such spiritual mission. That is, there is no way of having for Dante a poetry without spiritual mission, without exhortation to the discovery and to the rediscovery of the spirituality dimension, and also to the, so to speak, to the acknowledgement, of the recognition that we as human beings are not only senses, body, and the body dimension, but that we are something else, something more, and that we are directly connected to the divinity and to the divine dimension. Therefore, well, I found from the very beginning to the end of the expositions really very many analogies with my personal education. Another, if I can, strong connection also even though in this case it is not a connection to poetry, I found a strong connection as regards the contents: mysticism, rediscovery of spirituality, discovery of spirituality, recognition of spirituality, and recognition that we are not only body, but that we have another dimension which is directly connected to divinity, to the divine dimension. I found strong connection as regards philosophy with the philosophy of Plato, because the whole Plato can also be interpreted as from the very beginning of the production to the very end of the production of the works of Plato, in spite of the fact that we are not speaking of poetry, strictly said, but anyway of a poetic inspiration. Well, his works are an invitation to the recognition that there is not only the average life dimension, but there is also another dimension, that the limitation to the average life dimension, to the sense dimension, body dimension, is a sort of decadence of our mind dimension and of our spirituality. So I would like to underline these points. But of course, I thank you all very much. It was really wonderful, all the contributions and the items of the book. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jan.
Thank you so much. Very good interpretation.
Yes, may I invite DP Mangdela to share your thought in 2 to 3 minutes. Yes, DP Mangdela. Please unmute yourself. It is taking some time. So, the last comment from Hela ji or any of our speakers. Maybe Dr. JAFRI, would you like to say some of you?
Ranveer.
Yes.
Ranveer, can I read this poem? Because Dr. Anand, he said that he just focused on this poem, which is, I think that this is summarizes the 21st century, as I saw it myself. 21st century, I'm the aura. I don't want to say something else, but I see that the real aura in the 21st century is extinguished, and we have to how can I say? I said a quote: "Love is not a jar to be loaded, but it is a fire to be kindled." I have to rekindle this aura because I think that 21st century, the aura is extinguished. I'm the aura whose light is forbidden, spending my life between the dead and the living. Wherever I go, they try to extinguish my light. They always wish to see me walking through the dark night. They take out my halos and leave me with the horn. But I choose to free me from the contempt and scorn. Being in love with myself is my only goal. I'm not looking for fame, but to achieve my whole. I strive to climb the mountains on my own. I never give up the fight, though I am alone. My aura will never be extinguished through their greed. Between the dead and the living, I will soar with my heroic deeds.
Thank you. Thank you.
MAQSOOD, let him say his final words. Dr.
Yes.
MAQSOOD. Yes.
Yes. Of course, this book launch event was very fascinating, and we learned a lot from very eminent scholars and savants, poets and writers. And I agree with you. You know, mostly I have seen that you have used the word solitude mostly in your poems. So William Wordsworth, the great poet of nature of Britain, he says that the best creation is the outcome and fruition of the solitary moments. So this solitude is a great spiritual, you know, the great saints had been for some time away from the public. Well, I don't say that I believe in hermitage or the recluse mindset, but these people, when they had been going to some places in solitary moments, solitary places, so they absorb the spirit of the universal cosmos. And my book, Mr. Muhammad Haj has talked very nicely about soul. The Quran says, "Yes, alunaka an ruh, the ruh min amri Rabbi." O Prophet, they ask you what is soul. Soul, it is the immediate command of God. So the discussion of the body and soul is very interesting in the philosophical circles. And my book, The Philosophy of Soul, contains all these important aspects. This is the right place and time to discuss it. But I agree with you that the people who have sharp soul, sensitive soul, they really know what is love, what is respect for humanity, what are human values. So your poetry inspires the readers because you seem, I was just, the way you are talking, I find like Mercury, you have Mercurius soul. The way your body language shows that you are an engrossed lady, spirited lady. Besides your poetry, the way you express yourself, it strengthens soul, and it gives a message that you are really engrossed and imbibed with the spirit of human love through spirit and soul. And I appreciate your poetry and the way you are propagating.
You are a wonderful man, Dr. MAQSOOD.
The mission of spiritualism and love for humanity. It is really excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So with this word, so it's time to say goodbye. And definitely we will also invite Dr. MAQSOOD JAFRI again to share his thought on his book. So
thank you very much.
Thank you.
My pleasure. I'm really indebted to Dr. JERNAIL, SINGH, ANAND, and you people are great friends, great intellectuals. I have special love for you both. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And on behalf of Vishwanidhan Center for Asian Blossoming, and on behalf of Hela Tekali,
I thank all of the organizer. I thank you so much, Ranbir, for this wonderful presentation, for this wonderful discussion. We had time it's like family circle. We just that is, we are gathered together and we have this discussion, which is a wonderful discussion. I thank Dr. ANAND for this also splendid, if you want, interpretation analysis and the foreword of my book, Poetry of Redemption, Spiritual Mission. I thank Dr. MAQSOOD also, who gave a very interesting and great and intellectual also analysis to my poetry. I'm very proud of that. Also, Haj Mohammed also, who spoke about the history of the soul and the development of the soul through, that is, the past, the antiquity until now. And he gave also very good examples between the body and the soul, and also that is that they are complementary. Suganthhi also for appreciating all my books, and especially the last book, Poetry of Redemption. And also Somaya, she was quite also, because it's her first experience online, so it's a great also interpretation. Thank also for all the participants. Thank you so much, Ranbir, and it was very nice of you.
Thank you so much.